Yeah, I mean, Lamar, the agent, should react to this by saying, what the hell are you doing? We've got finite dollars under the salary cap. You've been preaching that to me for the past couple of years, and you're going to go piss away this money on a guy that no one else is offering anything close to that to? Who were you competing with when you offer $15 million fully guaranteed? Who are you competing against when you put that on the table? That's a fair question. You don't get to that kind of a number unless somebody else out there is at 14.9. That's how it works. And it takes me back to, I think it was 3 years ago now, when Le'Veon Bell signed with the Jets, this ridiculous contract when no one was competing.
Yeah, they negotiated with themselves, right?
Yeah, and the Ravens were the team that Le'Veon Bell's camp used throughout this phony baloney interest that the Ravens had in him when they weren't even in it. They weren't even chasing him. It's funny, it's the Ravens and the Jets again as the two teams in the OBJ situation. But the Jets weren't competing against anyone. They just felt compelled to go get Le'Veon Bell. And I feel like the same thing happened here. The Ravens felt compelled to go get him. Let's show the world we're capable of signing a veteran free agent. Let's show the world we're capable of getting a guy that's been saying no to everyone to say yes to us. Let's get a guy that if we sign him, we're starting to feel the walls close in on us to not have Lamar Jackson signed. Let's do something to show everybody that we know. That's not how you should go about building a football team. If those are the factors, that's a mistake by the Ravens.
No, well, yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. They need the receiver. They need the talent. Are the other things going on that maybe add to that price tag? I'm with you there. I think probably yes. But so you're not sure that this is even a positive all the way for Lamar, I guess, if I'm hearing right with like what you're kind of trying to say there. You're saying you could kind of see Lamar being like, what the hell, why give that money away instead of, Lamar
the agent should be saying that. I can't get from you what I deserve. And you're going to hand $15 million to a guy who doesn't deserve it, and I can't get what I deserve? Now, I don't know that Lamar, the agent, is going to view it that way, but if Lamar had an agent and they were in this impasse, of course, we get back to the dog chasing the tail thing, because if Lamar had an agent, he would have had his contract 2 years ago, and he would have made about $41 million at least more over the last 2 years that's never coming back. He would have had the Josh Allen contract or maybe better. But Lamar, if he had an agent now, would react to this by saying, what the hell, Ravens? I can't get you to pay my guy, and you're going to go out and you're going to pay $15 million to a guy that can't get $15 million anywhere, can't get $10 million anywhere, can't get $8 million anywhere. You're guaranteeing $15 million to this guy for PR purposes? Get the heck out of here with that. That's what Lamar, the agent, should be saying to this.
Well, but they could easily just be going, his money has nothing to do with what we've offered you. What does that $15 million have to do with the 133 guaranteed we've already laid on the table here? That's
I know. But the point is, there's a finite number of dollars available. You're not paying me what I have earned here. I've been here since 2018. I've been here for 5 years. I've been part of this organization, busting my ass to try to make this team as good as it can be. And you're just going to throw $15 million at some guy that's out there, some bright, shiny object, to get people to maybe criticize you less for not paying me what I'm owed? I mean, again, that's how the agent, Lamar Jackson, should look at this. The player, maybe he's thrilled, and maybe it's enough. Maybe this is their way of enlisting OBJ to constantly work on Lamar to just accept the contract and show up.
I wouldn't be shocked.
In a weird sort of way, he becomes the ambassador for the Ravens to try to talk Lamar into accepting the best offer on the table and showing up. If that's the case, maybe it's $15 million well spent.
Yeah. Well, yes. And see, look, here they are on the phone. And this is where Odell Beckham Jr., despite the rumors and just the bullcrap that's out there, and you know this to be true too, he's loved. There's only been one teammate ever that hasn't had a great relationship, or two maybe. Eli Manning and Baker Mayfield. You go into any of those locker rooms and ask anybody else, and they go, Odell Beckham Jr. is the coolest freaking guy on the team. He's the man. We love Odell. It's through and through. The Giants, the Browns, the Rams, all the way through. It's two people. And that's where, Mike, to your point, yeah, I think there could be something to that.
Wow.
He's got incredible.
But wait, time out. Time out. The two people that had a problem with
they're
Odell Beckham
quarterbacks.
Jr. were his starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, I got
that's
it.
kind of a problem.
It is.
He wasn't with the Rams long enough to have a problem with Matthew Stafford, so that doesn't count. But any team he was with for more than just half a season, the starting quarterback had a problem with him. Everybody else loved him, but the starting quarterback had a problem with him. So that's just something to file away if you're Lamar Jackson for future reference.
Well, yes, but there's more to it than that. As you know, there's lots of people that point fingers at Baker Mayfield there in Cleveland. And then Eli, and that just Odell became so good and was open all the time for huge plays and everything there that us negative spotlight started getting put on Eli there, and it put pressure on the situation because it was like people were showing like, hey, there's Odell, he's gone for 60, throw him the ball, and it wasn't happening. So there became friction, and then of course he went on with a little Wayne Josina Anderson and kind of implied that the quarterback was an issue, and that was definitely a negative, and that was not very smart of him. But I think that was a different OBJ too, an immature OBJ. I don't think he's the same way anymore. He can't be that way anymore. If he is that way, to like what you were saying earlier, his butt's going to be gone. He's not good enough or a proven enough commodity right now to just be like, I can say or do whatever I want. But Mike, I think you're onto something there. I think he's got great people skills, and I think this is going to help the OBJ or Lamar Jackson soothe the waters with the Ravens. I think there'll be some effect there.
Well, I think that's part of what they're paying for. That's part of what they're hoping for. That's part of what they're angling for here, that OBJ becomes the guy that gets through to Lamar. We can't get through to him. We have tried and we have tried and we have tried. Odell, can you help us? It's clearly in his interest because this is just the springboard for 2024 when maybe he gets the $20 million per year he's been looking for if he has a decent year with the Ravens. If Lamar Jackson is there, greater chance that Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have the kind of year he needs to have than if it's Tyler Huntley or Anthony Brown or someone else as the quarterback. One angle that kind of hit me last night after I had a chance to process everything, Todd Monken, new offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. The last time he was in the NFL, because he's been at Georgia for the last 3 years, 2019, it was his first and only year as the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, and that was Beckham's first year. And that's the last time Odell Beckham Jr. has had a 1,000-yard season in the National Football League.
So does that tell you anything?
Monken pulled it off.
Yeah.
Monken pulled it off with a dysfunctional relationship that hadn't fully boiled over yet, but I remember when they traded for Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
And we probably can play the tape back. I said Cleveland's not big enough for both of these guys. There's going to be a problem between Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. As Baker Mayfield is morphing into, and it seems crazy to even think of it now, but at the time he was starting to morph into the next big thing in Cleveland post LeBron James. Then here comes OBJ and he sucks the oxygen out of the room, and all of a sudden Baker Mayfield's sharing the spotlight. And he went through the same thing eventually that you talked about with Eli Manning. Remember the highlight reel or low light reel that was put out there right before it all blew up? All the times that OBJ was wide open, it's like Baker Mayfield wasn't even looking for him anymore. So Monken got 1,000+ yards out of Beckham with 16 starts from him and 16 starts from Baker Mayfield in 2019. Now, they were 6-10 that year, never mind that. But Beckham had an impact in his first year in Cleveland, and the guy who's going to be running the offense for his first year in Baltimore is the same dude. I assume that Monken is happy to have OBJ there, and that OBJ is happy to be working with Monken. Now, again, if this was a PR move and they didn't bother to connect the dots or think it through, I'd like to think they did. I think the Ravens are a sufficiently functional operation that they'll make sure Monken has a plan for OBJ and that OBJ isn't like, oh, God, I got to work with that guy again. You better give me $15 million instead of $13 million to make me. You got to give me hazard pay to work with that guy again. I have a feeling that's not the case, so they wouldn't have done it.
No, agreed. I think it's the opposite. I think it's actually another inkling to go, look, here's Odell Beckham Jr. He's a lot more liked than you realize in Cleveland. Here's another, inkling to support that argument. You're right. I don't think the Ravens are going in and like trying to go, well, let's get OBJ and maybe that'll mess up the Lamar situation and this will really screw over Todd Monken and make things life comfortable. I would think that the overpaying or the premium happens more because of like what you were saying a second ago, more because the guys go, no, I like OBJ. Oh, no, we can do some things with him. Yeah, no, and then even doing their due diligence probably with people with the Rams. And again, we've heard nothing but positive things from the Rams from the get-go with OBJ there. So, yeah, I would think that that's a positive thing that, that he's back with Monken and Monken was there and they gave him this kind of money. It's obviously views him as the guy that fits his culture and his offense. So I'm excited. The Ravens are damn good. The Ravens, like we talked about last week a little bit, I mean, they were a Super Bowl team last year. They're still a Super Bowl team. Their defense is legit. Their O-line is still good. You couple and get Lamar back healthy with some of these guys, and I still look at the Ravens as one of the best teams in the NFL. It's just, damn, there's a lot of what-ifs we're talking about right now in early April.
Well, and one of the big what-ifs is what will this offense look like? Assuming Lamar Jackson is back, you've got some great running backs, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards still around. You've got Lamar Jackson, who's a great threat running the football. Do we see the beginning of the morphing of Lamar Jackson into a pocket passer, into a guy who looks to throw, where there aren't as many designed runs? If we've learned nothing else, I mean, we've spent so much time, we, the media, have spent so much time knocking Lamar Jackson for being injured the past couple of years in December. Maybe the new approach in Baltimore, post Greg Roman, maybe the new idea is we're going to take Lamar Jackson and we're going to design an offense that requires him to throw it more, that has fewer designed runs, that puts him at risk of injury in December or any other month of the season at a lower number than it has been when you have this guy just running down the field all the time, reckless abandon. I mean, how many times do we see Lamar Jackson truly run the ball like a running back where he's not trying to get down, he's not trying to get out of bounds, he's a battering ram. And at times he seemed indestructible.
Yeah.
Maybe they pivot away from this. Maybe that's the signal here, that we are bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. not so we can tell the world, hey, we're capable of getting a reluctant superstar to say yes to a contract offer, but they are changing their offense to something that gets more out of Lamar Jackson's throwing skills. And you're one of the great defenders. It's funny. Everybody thinks we hate Lamar Jackson simply because we've been looking out for him by saying he should hire an agent to get him the contract that he has earned. But you've been one of the ones at a time when, because there's that knee-jerk reaction, oh, he can't throw, oh, he stinks as a passer, oh, he's this, oh, he's that. He could be a pretty damn good passer, especially if you give him some weapons, and now he's got one.
Definitely. Exactly. He's underrated. He's underappreciated as a passer. He is. And, partly is of course, his skill set running, and then the way they orchestrated the offense, and then it kind of took a life of its own, and, oh, you don't want to play receiver there, and it's just been like a lot of negatives in that department. But what I'm going to go is I see a guy with an elite arm. I see a guy that makes a lot of good decisions in the pocket, throws the ball everywhere, and was in an offense that's not necessarily the greatest drop-back pass offense I've ever seen as far as creative ideas. So when the run game and there was injuries to the O-line and injuries to running backs and things like that, yeah, they're not as good in that department because they're not a team that was built on, hey, let's drop back and pass the ball 45 times a game. That's when we're at our best. They weren't built like that. I think you're right, Mike. I think they're going to go more in that direction. They're going to be selective with Lamar Jackson and his running, which they've tried to do here the last 2 years, right? And I think he is trying to play in the pocket more and be more of a pocket passing quarterback. But I do think that, yes, Todd Monken and company are going to bring this to, a new look of an offense. We know the run game is still going to be a big part of it, but I would think it's going to be a little more featured around, hey, creative ideas in the drop-back pass game, play-action pass game, and let Lamar make big-time throws. Lamar's arm is a special arm, and he has special releases, and I don't get it. I don't know why people don't give him more respect in that department, Mike. I don't.
One other wrinkle to this Ravens adding OBJ story. Marlon Humphrey Ravens cornerback, a few years ago when Beckham was playing for the Browns, they got into a little bit of a brouhaha on the field. Browns coaches were complaining about cheap shots. Beckham said he lost an earring, if you remember that. The Ravens released a video that was trying to make it look like it wasn't Marlon Humphrey's fault, but that's all water under the bridge, as they say, because Marlon Humphrey has been part of this effort to convince Beckham to come to Baltimore. Want to be best friends and win a Super Bowl? Let's get it, Humphrey said on Twitter, and that was 3 weeks ago. So Humphrey's all over it, and Humphrey's happy that Beckham is there. So, look, this is one of the realities of today's NFL where we see players change teams all the time. When you're locked onto a certain roster and you've got your opponent, certain things happen. When you're on the same team, you set that aside. It's not like the old days. We've talked about it in the 70s and the 80s. Like you said, your dad hated these other teams. It was always your guys against their guys. There wasn't intermingling in the offseason. Guys weren't changing teams. You didn't have a friend on the other roster that kind of helped cool things down.
Right.
You hated them, they hated you. Let's go get it on.
Yeah, it's a different time. It is. And, you know, it's because the world is so much smaller and social media and these guys see each other in off-season events. There's more of a, hey, we're off the field and that was on the field, that was business, and now it's off the field and it's cool, it's all love, it's good to see you. There is. So it's a different world that way. As far as the camaraderie between players on different teams and everything there. But I will say, and like Marlon Humphrey said in that tweet, looks like a Raven to me. Yeah, he's got those Raven chippy qualities, certainly, right? We've seen that. You know, they're good at finding those type of guys, whether it's, you know, the Marlon Humphreys, the OBJs, the Marcus Peters of the world, guys that, you know, aren't afraid to play with a little edge and show it to their football team. And I do think OBJ fits that Baltimore Raven mold in that description, at least.
Well, and think about the times over the years where teams have tried to get inside Odell Beckham's head. Remember when they played the Panthers and there was that incident before the game where the defensive backs had baseball bats out on the field and then it got very chippy during the game? I never felt like the teammates of OBJ had his back the way that maybe they should have in those moments.
Right.
And I have a feeling in Baltimore, if somebody messes with Odell Beckham Jr., they're messing with all the Ravens, and it's going to turn into... So from that perspective, I know that the NFL frowns upon it, but could get interesting if somebody decides to get a little chippy with OBJ, because I have a feeling a bunch of other Ravens are going to show up to that one.
Well, we know the Ravens. They always every year I kind of always feel like I'm saying, oh, here goes the Ravens pillaging the freakiest freaks in the history of the football planet on their football team, the biggest, baddest dudes you've ever seen. That's what they are. I mean, they are. They're a team that walks off the bus, and it's rare that they get bullied, and we've talked about this. They're the team that's going to do the bullying. They're used to life in a division with the Pittsburgh Steelers and company, so that's the way they're built there in Baltimore. And OBJ certainly fits that, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm excited for Baltimore. I am. I think there's a lot of potential between, you know, the Ravens and OBJ, especially if Lamar's there. You know, we've seen, I don't think OBJ's done by any stretch of the imagination. Health is the issue, but I would be shocked if he's healthy, he's going to be a pain in the butt. I think we know that he's been working, and there's going to be real explosion and route running, and I think there's potential for something good here in Baltimore with OBJ there.
It's going to make the 2023 season more interesting, and it's going to make the balance of the offseason more interesting up to the moment that Lamar Jackson signs a contract. And it would be ticker tape parade time in Baltimore if OBJ can get Lamar Jackson to the table to sign a long-term deal right now. Not up against the July 17 deadline, but let's just get something worked out. Let's do it now. Let's get this contract fair for both sides, negotiated and finalized so we can get to work. Hey, Lamar, get your contract signed so you can get to work with me. I'm telling you, I think that's part of what the Ravens are trying to pull off here. And if it works, they were at the point where nothing was working. If this works, congratulations. You finally figured out how to crack the code to get Lamar Jackson to sign an offer that's fair to him, fair to you, fair to everyone, and he shows up to get ready for the season. Because that's the other side of this, too. This impasse lingers. He misses all of the offseason program, first year with a new offensive coordinator. Who does that help? Holds out at training camp shows up just before the start of the season and collects his franchise tag salary, if he even does that, who does that help? Doesn't help him, doesn't help the team. Now you've got a freaking magnet to get Lamar Jackson to show up. You got a guy that is going to make Lamar Jackson more inclined to want to be there. To want to be there and get the most out of this new offense, get the most out of his skill set, and come out and prove people wrong that he can get the football via the air down the field to a receiver like Odell Beckham Jr. It just makes me wonder what else the Ravens have up their sleeve. Because this does seem desperate, it does seem borderline reckless, but it makes me wonder, is there something else that we don't know about going on? And do they believe that OBJ is going to be the closer? I have a feeling at some level they think OBJ is going to be the closer for Lamar. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.